Hello everyone, in this video we will show you how to do the mitre joint. But first, what is a mitre joint? A mitre joint is a joint that is made by cutting each of the workpiece at an angle to be joined across the main surface. Usually, mitre joints are cut at 45-degree angle and placed next to one another workpiece to form a corner. Firstly, prepare 4 workpieces and then measure and mark each of the workpieces at 45 degrees.
Before cutting, adjust the circular saw to the measured angle of 45 degrees. To set the circular saw to 45 degrees, you have to first loosen the mitre by turning the screw counterclockwise. Then adjust the mitre to 45 degrees by moving it to the right side, and then lock it. Then make a jig or guide as shown here, so it will be easy to cut all the workpieces at the same angle and measurement. The most important thing is that this method can save time.
After that, put some glue at the end of both workpieces. Then connect them together. Create a 90-degree structure to facilitate the nailing process. Then nail the 2 parts glued together. Do these 2 steps until become a frame.
Today I will tell you about lap joint. What is lap joint? As you can see here, a lap joint is formed when 2 pieces overlap one another, which means they are one to intersect with a flat surface each side.
First, pick 2 workpieces for your lap joint, then measure the thickness of each workpieces that need to be cut away. But before measure, decide which faces you want to show and mark.
So I will show you the ways of cutting bird before using the machine.
First is determine the height of the saw blade and make sure your surface is straight. Second is, you can use a piece of plywood to be a simple stop block and clamp it so it will be easier for you to adjust. Okay, so this is an example of how to stop your block so it will be easier for you to cut your work pieces.
This is an example of the unfit half lap joint, and this is the example of the fit half lap joint.
Machine on.
Hello, in this video we are going to show on how to make a dado joint and rabbet joint. Dado joint is a square or rectangular slot that runs across the grain and is one of the strongest woodworking joints that we can make. While a rabbet joint is a recess cut into the edge of a workpiece. It is the result of joining a rabbet to another piece of wood.
In this section of the video, we are doing wood selection to do rabbet joint and dado joint. And the second step is trimming the edge of the wood. And make sure trim the edge of the wood as straight as possible. In this part, we are sanding the wood to make sure the surface as smooth as possible.
Alright, now we will show you on how to make a dado joint. First, we should measure the thickness of the other wood that will be attached to the base wood. This is an example of the measurements that have been marked on the woods. After that, make sure to set the blade of the machine saw to the right height. For this making, we set the height to 1 centimeter. Before cutting it, we need to make sure that it is according to the lines that have been marked. Then we need to check whether the other wood fits with the one that has been cut, and then finally try to install it and make sure it fits and is not loose. And this is the result of dado joint that we made. First step, we mark each edge of wood and make sure it is industed of 90 degrees. Next, make sure to set the height blade of the machine saw, which is 1 centimeter, same as mentioned in dado joint part. And the cutting must be following the mark perfectly. Finally, we try to install it and ensure that it fits perfectly. And after that, we put the glue at the sufficient rate and rabbet joint is ready to be installed.
Okay, hello. Today I will show you the box joint, and this is the pin and this is the tail, and when we combine it, it will become a box joint like this.
These are the steps to make a box joint. Before actually starting to make the joint, you must first sand down the workpiece to ensure that it is smooth and it is easier to work with. In this shot, we can see that the sides are also sanded down because it is also a huge part in making sure that the joints fit together more properly. After making sure that it is smooth, we can then measure and mark where we want to make the joints. Here we measure out the width of the plank and divide it based on how many joints or teeth we want the joints to have. Table saw is then used to make the cuttings based on the markings that we made. It is also important to point out that during this step, we should always wear the proper safety equipment and take care of our own safety. During cutting the joints, another person should keep watch of whether the lines being cut is straight. After making sure that the joints fit snugly, we then apply glue to ensure that it sticks properly. After that, we hammer it down using a mallet to make sure that it sticks all the way in. The box joint that we just made is going to be made into a drawer. And here we are making a rabbet joint to connect the bottom part of our drawer into the box joint that we just made. Here, where the rabbet joint connects to the drawer, we place glue on it. ensure a more solid fitting. And then we hammer it down. After making sure that the rabbet joint is all the way inside the drawer, we can then secure it with a clamp and then leave it overnight for the glue to dry.
Hello guys, so we will show you how to do a dovetail joint. So first and foremost, dovetail joint consists of two components, which is tail and pin. So this is one of the example of dovetail joint. So basically, dovetail joint is using in woodworking, especially in cabinet, furniture, and so on.
Dovetail joint is a joint that is highly resistant to being pulled out.
So let's begin to the dovetail making.
So we will prepare wood to be used to make furniture that will be applied dovetail joint. First, we will measure the tails. We will make two tails on one component connection. We have to find two middle points to make a center tails. After that, we make two tails without touching between these two tails.
Then, we need to cut the wood accordingly to the size and shape of the tail that had been measured before using any cutting tools such as a mini bandsaw.
After that, we will measure the pin for tail connection. Pin size depends on tail size. We only need to hold the drawing based on the shape of the tail that has been cut according to its shape.
Next, we need to cut the wood accordingly to the size of the tails.
Once the pin and tails component have been made, it needs to be connected first to make sure it fits according to the measurement and shape.
If it fits as measured, it will apply adhesive to make the bond stronger.